Welcome to another episode on Know Thyself. We have been discussing various characters who came across the life of Jesus and the way he dealt with them. And we've understood the very character of the Lord as a counselor. And we know as counselees how to approach a counselor as well. So today we will be discussing about Simon the Pharisee, whose house Jesus visited. But there are deeper insights to understand how Christ carried through this piece of counseling. Welcome to this episode. Welcome, Father, to another episode. Welcome, Sister. So I think today we're going to discuss about Simon the Pharisee. So if you could share the insights with us, both biblical as well as the psychological aspects, it'd be really helpful.
Oh, well, and in the last episode, we dealt with the woman who came to the Pharisee's house. Mm-hmm. The woman who came, who knelt down, wept, washed the feet of Jesus with tears and anointed, etc. And now we deal with another character, the owner of the house. Mm-hmm. And the episode is reported in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7. And this is somehow preceded by a statement of Jesus.
Okay.
Statement of Jesus about a critical audience who were not ready to accept either John the Baptist or Jesus. Mm-hmm. Every time they find some mistake. For example, Jesus is telling, Luke 7:33-34, John the Baptist has come eating no bread and drinking no wine, and you say he has a demon. The Son of Man has come eating and drinking, and you say, behold, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Mm-hmm. So this is the accusation. Jesus is taking the words from their mouth and telling, you accuse me of being a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and prostitutes. Mm. And exactly that's what is happening here. So Luke has very decisively, purposely presented Jesus in a context of eating and drinking in the house of a Pharisee. You see, it's a banquet. Mm-hmm. Of course, in the banquet, they are eating and they will be also drinking wine. That is normal. That's no thing. John the Baptist was in the desert. He had all the hardness of the rock. He was not eating. He was not drinking maybe water and locusts, they say. Mm-hmm. It's a man of fasting, penance, and austere man of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And here comes Jesus, who is a common man, who eats and drinks and enjoys life.
Right.
So that is the context. And see, the setting is put in the house of a Pharisee. A Pharisee is a person, a religious person, religious leader who pretends to be a very holy person. And the contrast is the woman who is known as a prostitute in the town. She rushes into the house and kneels before Jesus and weeps at his feet. So this is a very interesting thing. And now Simon, the one who invited Jesus, seeing all this, has this question: who is this man? So now when the Pharisees who invited him saw it, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. So the author is giving a glimpse into the thought of the Pharisee. He is a counselor. The Pharisee who pretends to be a holy person and condemning others, judging others with his own standard. Mm-hmm. So he has two judgments. Either this person is not a prophet, as he is pretended to be, then okay, we doesn't understand. We can understand he's a normal man, he doesn't know who this woman is. But if he is a prophet, and then he knows who he is, then there's something serious. Mm-hmm. So allow such a prostitute to go and kiss her in public, so this is something very, very serious. So this is the criticism the Pharisee is entertaining in his heart. And then Jesus comes out, the question. So in the parables, there are two people who owed money, debtors to a creditor. A certain creditor had two debtors. One owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When they could not pay, he forgave them both. Now, which of them will love him more? A very simple parable. See, the parables of Jesus are so tricky. Simple, but so hard. No, the Pharisee doesn't know why he said this, why Jesus said this. Anybody who should have a normal reasoning, okay, the one who is forgiven more. That's what he said. Okay. Now, the decision you have made. Now he comes to the question. Now Jesus is entering into the heart of the counselee. Now the first question Jesus asked. Then turning toward the woman, first he said, you have judged well. Turning towards the woman, Jesus said to him, do you see this woman? Do you see this woman? Just kind of a lot of implications. Of course, everybody knows he's not a blind person, he knows a woman. But do you see this woman? Who is she for you? How do you see this woman? I know how you see a prostitute. Who made her a prostitute? Who made her a sinner? What is the situation? Why did she come here? Do you see this woman? Do you see the heart of the woman? Why did she come here? What was she doing? So this person, before judging another person, should know who this is.
Right.
That's what Jesus is judging. Then he goes on to say, I entered your house, you gave me no water for my feet. But she washed my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but from the time I came in, he has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. So 3 acts of hospitality. There's a normal hospitality demands that the host allows the feet of the guest be washed, that usually the servant is to do it. And when the servant or the slave has washed the feet of the guest, then the owner of the house, the host, will come and kiss the guest and pour perfumed oil on the head as welcome. So these are the normal acts of courtesy to a person who is invited as a guest. You did not do anything of that. So now I know how you treat me. But now this person, look, she has done all that. She has washed my feet, she has kissed my feet, and she has anointed my feet. All you should have done. So now comes the judgment. So the Pharisee is given a chance to look into his own self. How did I judge this woman? How did I judge Jesus? And now he goes on to say, therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. So it's not that Jesus does not know her. Jesus knows exactly what her sins are, and there are many. And he knows exactly also what is in the heart of the Pharisee. But now he comes to the conclusion, her sins are forgiven, and so her love. So the forgiveness and love come together. So the question is often asked, did she love because she was forgiven? Or was she forgiven because she loved? It's rather a stupid question. It's a kind of continuous action. It's a dialogue. She had an urge to come to Jesus, confess her sins with her tears, and so expressing her repentance, her need of change, and Jesus accepting her action of repentance and love is already a sign of forgiveness, and she loves the more. So the more you love, the more you are forgiven. The more you are forgiven, the more you are loved. So this is a kind of growing. On the other hand, what happens to the Pharisee? He doesn't understand. And Jesus said, go in peace. And the others, they wonder. So here is a situation of counseling. A person who pretends to be honest and just and holy doesn't understand anything that is happening. And finally, he is so hardened in his own hardness of heart, he doesn't realize exactly, and he doesn't get the forgiveness. But the woman who was aware of her sinfulness and was ready to expose herself to the community, she became free. And that's how Jesus deals with the two persons. I think Sister can add to the understanding of the Pharisee and how he deals with, and Jesus deals with them.
I think I will start with Jesus' question. Simon, do you see this woman? When a person comes to us, how do we see that person? Maybe we know a lot of background, a lot of things that person has done. Are we concentrating on that or the intention of the heart in there? Here she says that somehow she must have heard Jesus before. and she knew he will forgive her. It was a daring step she did, because if Jesus was not there to protect her, she would have been chased out of the house, because
Right.
the Pharisee, the holy person, will not allow a sinner to enter his house. But she came in, and Jesus saw her as a woman who loves, woman who has repented about her sins and asking for forgiveness. And when a client come to me, if I think of all the things I have heard about that person before, I will not be able to, that will, my vision will be blurred by that. But I see a person who wants to change, who wants to be consoled. So, it's a child of God who wants to help at that time. So, accept the person without any kind of prejudice, any kind of preconceived ideas. Okay, you are the person who loves, who cares, and show the care and the love to that person.
Right.
And the intention, because God sees our heart, and it is that heart that is changing. When it comes to this man who is so just, who is so righteous, he could not see the woman as a loving child of God. And so he sat on the throne of judgment in that sense, saying, she is a sinful woman, she is this, that. It is not the human being. It is like looking at a person, in spite of all that has been done, is a human being, a child of God. And that is what is most important thing in counseling and in anything what we do. See the person as he or she is, not what they have done. And this is what Jesus has shown us again and again, that go beyond their actions and whatever that has happened. And this is what we do in counseling, in the sense, go beyond whatever that has happened in the past. Here is a person, an individual. And Simon could not respect her in that sense. And because he felt so holy and so good, and so everybody else, it is the superiority complex a person experiences. When I experience superiority complex, I look down on others.
True.
But when I do accepting, when I shake away or remove the superiority complex and see the human beings, and when we are possessed by this superiority complex, it blurs all our visions. It will not allow us to relate to people as they are. Accepting of others as they are is the first and fundamental step of our human relationship. Any person who is there. I am accepting one person not because of who she will be or who she could be or so he could be. It's the person who is at the time, the way he is, with all the shortcomings, with all the difficulties and problems. And this is the one that plays a major role in all the relationships.
Right.
Without the relationships, we cannot really help anybody or relate to anybody. And when we relate, in the relationship, what is most important is, in the sense, accept that person as he or she is. And that's what I saw Jesus doing. And that is what the Pharisee, Simon could not accept her as she is, because he knew she is a public sinner. So everybody knows who she is. We have seen often people trying to avoid people who have a bad reputation. And it is not that, maybe it is the fear that if I associate with that person, I'll be changed. But no, we don't have to, because if we are secure with ourselves, if we know ourselves, we do not have to change by the contact with the other person. But we can help that person accept. Everybody would love somebody who has a big reputation, big people. So in the society, they are on high. But who cares for these underdogs? Who loves them? It is they who are really needs our understanding and our help. And whoever is associating, when a person is singled out, when a person is rejected by most, it is that time that we need to to extend my friendship to that person, my understanding. Stand for that person. The society may not approve of it. The community may not approve of it. But Jesus will see that that is what have to be done. And also in our own lives, at a time when we are in glory, when everything is so going well, many people would love us. But when somebody in authority rejects us, somebody who thinks we are not doing well, then we see people, those who are in superficial relationship, moves away. But those who are the close friends, the sincere friends will stay with us. And that is a test. That is what the Pharisee failed in that sense. He failed to understand this woman and failed to see her as a human being. And that is what we often fail. When we do not see the other as a human being, we cannot relate to them. Always look for. I remember once a student came to my office. Everybody had been talking about her. She is not sincere. But as the kid came to me, I did not see any of that. I saw a girl who is deeply misunderstood. Mm-hmm. She wants to, she was not so secure in herself, so she was trying to be popular with other students, trying to please them. Mm-hmm. And with that understanding, when I looked, I had no problem in loving her and caring for her and telling her, you have a lot of goodness in you. Be secure. No need of going after getting approval of others. That is it's good to be loved by everybody. But somebody who is just approving her, making us do what we want, is not really helping us.
Right.
It is the people, those who really want the best out of me. And we can see in relationship, some people bring the good out of us. Mm-hmm. With some, when we come, we feel inhibited, we cannot really talk or do the best in there. And what we are really given the mission by Jesus is, in the sense, to bring out the good in others. Help them to operate out of their strength.
Right.
And I operate out of my strength, I will do that. When we see, I often use the example of a donut. Yeah. Mm. And some people look at the hole. Mm. Some people look at the round and see what is there. If we look at the hole and say, oh, the hole is there, if that also was filled, I could have eaten that much more. Others will look at it and say, see, there is so much, I can take it. And this is what we do with the human beings. Not what is lacking, but what is there. In a place where I went, it's a place for physically challenged children there. And there was a sign written there saying, ask not what they cannot do, mm-hmm. but ask what they can do. Each child was challenged to do their best. And the child who cannot walk, another child who can walk but has problem with hands, helps them. And they do many things together. The relationship with each other, in the sense they are, when a person who is problem with their legs and another person who has problem with their eyes, okay, this one can see, but the other one has the physical strength. So help this person, and this both work together, they can do things. So always ask what we can do, not what we cannot. The normal tendency in us is, in the sense, to look what is lacking. And often we say the person is having problem with this and that and everything else. That's what we see. Not so many of the positive qualities in the person, that the person has done good, The person has a lot of things helping others. Look, so what is one of the prayers we need to say is that, Lord, open my eyes to see the good in others, to see the strength in others, so that I can encourage that strength. I can help them to move forward from their strength, not from their weakness. When we operate out of our weakness, we fail. But when we operate out of our strength, we can go forward and help others. And that is where Simon failed in that sense. He could not appreciate. See, here is a person who has been sorry for her sins and has come for asking for forgiveness. She is changing. So welcome her into the society. Welcome her to become better. If that attitude he had taken, the whole scene would have been different, rather than judging her and pushing her down. We have a saying in saying, if a dog fell into a well, people will throw stones and sticks at them. But if we try to help them come out, that will be helping us in the sense. That's what we are called to do really, not to throw stones at the person who is lying down.
Right.
Make them get up, stand up, face. And in our training, in the sense, often saying that somebody who is lying down on the floor, everybody will walk on them. So make them stand up. Then confront them, challenge them to do better.
Right.
That is what is going to make us grow, make us move more.
But at the same time, I think we have to go a bit deeper into the character of Simon. He also needs some change.
Yes.
So, is it possible for a judgmental person to change? Because he is full of himself and he thinks he is doing the right thing. And then he is even ready to criticize Jesus, even God. So he has his own terms and his own understanding of spirituality, his own understanding of holiness, sainthood. And according to those criteria, Jesus is already a sinner and a glutton, and this person also. Is there any way for such a person to change? Could you think about how this kind of person, how
Yes.
do you deal with
Yeah.
such a person?
The person can change. But as you said, right now he is filled with his own ego. And then if we put something onto that, it will be like pouring water into a glass full of full. Or when you have glass turned, you pour water, nothing will receive. First you have to empty. He has to empty his egoisness before he can really change. So that is a challenge in the sense.
Maybe that is why Jesus said, tax collectors and prostitutes will go to heaven before you. So Jesus was so fed up, and maybe he was so tired speaking to these priests, lawyers, the scribes, and the Pharisees. And finally he was saying, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. Here is a Pharisee. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. He's not cursing. How miserable your situation is, you don't realize. You think you are full of holiness, you are a great person, greeted with everybody, but look into your heart, how rotten you are.
Right.
How miserable your situation. Unless you change, you have no way. So I think Jesus is confronting also the person. So he is consoling the sinner, but he is confronting the Pharisee.
See, Jesus could not tolerate prejudice and hypocrisy. And he was challenging them, empty yourself. Then they can be filled with God's grace. In the full glass, we cannot put any more. So let us look into ourselves, empty what is there, the egoishness, and accept God's grace to see others as the Lord has seen. And that's what is our mission.
I would point out Paul, the Pharisee. He was full of himself and he was sure that Jesus was a heretic. And finally he lost his balance, he fell down, he could not see anything. So he was knocked down from the horse. So for such people to come to a realization of selfhood, maybe they need some tragedy. God allows some kind of tragic experience to open their eyes.
Right.
Otherwise, you're so full. And I think this is very relevant for today's society. There are so many holy people condemning all the others as sinners. No? So I think we have to see how Jesus sees myself. My holiness, where is it?
Right. So I think there were two things which happened in this. One was a corrected perception, as such, from the side of Simon, where he thinks about the perception of Christ. He thinks that he's got a wrong perception over the woman, but in turn it comes back to him when Jesus said, "Do you see the woman?" And another thing, of course, we discussed already, which said about the being non-judgmental when it comes to a counselee. So I think coupling both this together, I believe we can have good results. And I'm sure that we've got the right insights from both the scriptural aspect and the psychological aspect.
Thank you.
All right, so this episode has been really interesting as we understand the character of a Pharisee who had a different perception, but Jesus corrected it. And he also taught him how to love unconditionally by being non-judgmental. I'm sure that we have more insights in the episodes yet to come. Till we meet you in another episode, God bless you. Thank you, Father. Thanks, Sister. Thank you.